Hello there. This is my... Whoa, didn't even say my fucking name. What am I doing? Ridiculous. This is a moniker of the channel. It's been established for a few years now, and I just go straight into saying it wrong. That's true professionalism, guys. Let's do a retake. Nah, let's not. We're all friends here. I'm From17. You already knew that. This is Star Fox Zero. This is my walkthrough of said game, and we're on... Is it Fichina? The Frostbitten Fray. The score here is 128 hits. It is a gold medal. At the beginning, you're going to be in one of those wide area dogfights, and we're going to be taking down 30 enemies, which is going to get one of the Star Wolf team to spawn, and then we're going to be taking him out too. So use this opportunity if you can to get some upgraded lasers, get a few bombs, and just have fun. This is when the game is at its most fun for me. I really do like these dogfights because it reminds me of Rogue Squadron, and I used to really like that game. But do what you can. Cause some havoc, break when they're behind you, nail them as they go past you, do the loop-the-loops, make it look fancy. I really wish there was more to the scoring in this game. I always get that with scoring though, especially, I mentioned earlier in the walkthrough I was playing Transformers Devastation, which is another Platinum game if you're interested in checking out more of their catalogue. And the scoring on that game is probably the worst scoring system I've ever played. It's just so bad. You will do the most stylish, amazing stuff that looks super sweet, you'll take no damage, you'll do it really quick, and then you'll get shit because you didn't spam a million arbitrary tick boxes. It's the worst kind of scoring, and I think I'm going to do... when I do my Backseat Game Dev series, which is a series I've been talking about for far too long and I really should just do, I'm definitely going to go into Transformers Devastation, and if I were to do a remaster or a remake or something like that, what I would change, the first thing would be a complete overhaul of the scoring system, because it's not productive. It doesn't lead to being a better player, it doesn't lead to being a stylish player, it just leads to spamming shit that's not useful, that doesn't work when you're trying to kill stuff and do challenging things. It's just really, really bad. And the hit system in this is great because it's an homage to the classic games. The classic games kind of always had that hit system. But there's a part of me that wishes there was a little bit more to it. Just because there'd be a bit more depth and strategy then. Even though there is, you know, a measure of that. I'm just the person, I like... If you've ever played a cave shooter, which is I don't even think they exist anymore, Cave. They were a Japanese company that essentially kept the torch burning for shmups for a very long time, making these really overwhelming bullet hell shooters. And the scoring systems in those games are always very unique and intricate in a lot of ways, and they might not always be to your tastes, but you can't deny the complexity there. And a lot of people think that those games are just about shooting shit and dodging bullets, and there's a lot of that happens, but there's also these incredibly unique scoring systems behind them. Death Smiles is a great example of this. It's a game that has, on the surface, you just shoot shit and crowns spill out of them and you pick them up. But when you really want to start scoring in that game, you come to realise that you have to kill each enemy differently to get the max amount of items, and depending on what your number bar is for that 1000 ranking thing that goes into special mode, depending on depends on what you're picking up, depends on what you're doing, and then there's a whole new mechanic of once you get to a certain threshold, you have to ignore the super massive, alluring, awesome crowns, wait for them to break and turn into skulls, and then pick them up because it reverses the scoring. And you're probably like, what the hell are you talking about, Chris? Exactly, you know what I mean? It's something that has to be learned, and you're not going to learn it immediately. It takes a lot of mastery and a lot of time. But that's why it's good. Because if you want to play that game for survival, you can do that. If you want to play that game with your buddy and continue infinitely and just get through it, smashing your face against the controller and having a ton of fun, you can do that too. If you want to score on that game, you've got to put in the time and learn those intricacies, because if you don't, you're never going to get a good score. And it's legit, and it's the type of thing that gives games a lot of depth, and it gives them an edge of competition, because you can get competitive with it, you can score with your friends, and you can go onto shmup forums and see just how good some people are at those games and realise you'll never be that good. But it's cool, it's detailed, it's intricate. It turns a game that people would call 20 minutes long into games that people play for decades, because there is that level of skill and that skill ceiling. So I'm always looking for scoring systems that aren't necessarily complicated, that just have a measure of complexity to them. And one thing that really bugs me personally as I side roll around in my tank shooting stuff as the boss turns up, this is my least favourite boss in the game. It's too long, it's just boring, it takes forever, and the strategy is very simple. Shoot its glowing orbs at its joints, it falls down, shoot the joints on its head. Then it does an attack where it lunges forward and tries to crush you, and hopefully you can get out of it, and sometimes it's very tricky to do so because it covers massive distance and the frame rate dies, but it's just a weird one. I think to get the mission accomplished on this you have to kill all these spider walkers. I'm going to try and do that because I think they give you hits. If they stop giving me hits I'm going to stop killing them, because I'm just trying to squeeze points here, guys. That's all I'm trying to do. And how I like to fight these creatures, when their weak spot is pointing down, I like to shoot them with standard lasers. When their weak spot is pointing up, I like to shoot them with the charged shot, because it's easier to do that, I find. But scoring systems, scoring systems are something that make games very fun. But with that same notion, they're also something that can make games not very fun. One of the cardinal sins of a scoring system, I think, is when a game forces you to play in a very specific way. I'm not a big fan of a scoring system being that strict. I think you should be able to show a level of skill and a level of expertise with the game and achieve it just by really gifted play. That's what I think scoring should be. I think it should reward knowledge and mastery rather than do this one thing that guarantees this score and you'll get it every time. That to me stagnates a game. And it's the reason I've been so critical of Hitman 2016, because the scoring in that game is utter dog shit and it doesn't make any sense, because you can do the most ridiculous, most elite, most difficult way through that level, and a dude who knocks out 20 fucking staff and stuffs them in cupboards will get a better score than you. And that's wrong to me. It's completely wrong. And I've got no issue about not being high on leaderboards or not getting max score or even being usurped by people who have runs that are inferior to mine. My issue is simple. You want to feel like you've got a good score, and you want to feel like your score reflects your effort and your run. And if you watch my Hitman suit-only Silent Assassin runs, they're flawless. They are flawless runs of that level. Because I never get spotted, I never use disguises, and I never knock anybody out. I kill the targets, I do them all with the wire generally. So it's as close to perfect as you can get with those games. This is me running away from the inevitable crush. So as soon as you topple the weak spot on the top of him, spin around and boost. It's your best opportunity to survive those. But this is a real war of attrition. Super long, not that great, not my favourite boss. And the good thing about Hitman is there is tons of ways to do those missions, so somebody else can find another really, really great run. And if they do it like I did it, using the suit, Silent Assassin, not knocking anybody out, they too will have a perfect run, but with their own way of doing it. And those are the type of things that I think should be rewarded. And you watch these people who do these terrible runs, and they get the max amount of points available because the scoring is stagnant in that game. Once you get the max time bonus and you tick all the other boxes, you have a score that is unbreakable. What's the point in that? What's the point in not having modifiers that enable that score to constantly be beat? There's a reason why speedrunning is so popular, because there's always the opportunity that you'll shave a few seconds off if you have that optimum RNG. That's what they're chasing. They're chasing second improvements that mean the world to them. And that's why there's people playing those games for years and there's those competitive communities. You're not going to get a competitive community for score on Hitman because it's dead. It's dead before it's even started. You'll get speedrunners, because, that's a completely different thing. Some of the speedruns for that game are wonderful. I was watching a guy the other day, and he shot this wall, shot this girl, did this and that, boom, did it. Awesome. Did it in 10 seconds. That's exactly what you want to see. But he's not going to get a good score for doing that, because once again, the scoring in those games is so specific. There we go, does it get me? No, it missed me. And it ruins that game for me. It does. I had high hopes for Hitman. I was looking forward to just delving in, and the episodic release kills it for me, kills my enthusiasm to play it, and the fact that, there isn't the same kind of feel for mastery that you got in Blood Money, that you got in Contracts. So I hadn't touched it since I made those videos, and those videos were all made on the day of Sapienza's release. And it makes me sad because that level's great, and I think the game is great. It's just, it doesn't give me any reason to go back to playing. And I appreciate I can dress up as a Sikh and, you know, choke a dude with a Quran or whatever you want to say, all these really exotic ways of doing assassinations, which are all cool and intricate and interesting, but at the end of the day, they all take 20 minutes to set up, so none of them are going to get you a good score, and that's the reason I play Hitman, you know, to get those impressive runs. And an impressive run to some people is getting a max score. And on that game, it just sucks. Like, it's the thing that bugged me the most about Devil May Cry 3. The damage statistic. Every other statistic I loved in that game, but the damage was just, I'm not a player who can do things perfectly all the time. You know, that level of mastery is where the true great players stand out from. And anybody who knows Devil May Cry ranking, Devil May Cry 3 is the most impressive ranking that there is. Because if you can do good in that game, you can do good in all of them. Because that is another level of achievement in my book. Thank you very much for watching, and you take care now.